Hello beauties, and welcome back to the Bumpy Bones Locksport channel. Now, I get a lot of questions from my friends asking me how I've learned lockpicking. So I thought I would create a video that covered my approach to learning lockpicking and what I do when I encounter a new lock or new keyway that gives me problems, or when I get new tools that handle a bit differently from the current tools in my set. So let's go ahead and get started. But first things first, I still consider myself a newbie in this sport. I've only been picking locks for about 6 months now, but it's a hobby and a sport that I have fallen in love with, and it's actually becoming kind of more of a passion of mine. In the Lockpickers United Belt system, I'm currently a green belt, and I'm currently working on my blue belt. So I've got about 3 of the blue belt locks under my belt. I still have the challenge lock requirement to do. I did the challenge lock for my nephew and my brother-in-law, but I'm not going to count that because it was a simple challenge lock. And I'm hoping within the next couple of months to be able to work on a challenge lock that will meet that requirement and send it off to someone so that I can get my blue belt. I'm also working on some purple level locks now as well. So I'm still learning. I still have a long ways to go. But I thought I would just share kind of the tips that or the things that I've done to learn how to pick locks open and to work with the tools and all that. The other thing is I'm a very tactile learner, so I learn a lot through my hands. I love assembling things. I love building things. I love tearing things apart. Another one of my hobbies is carpentry. I love building things. But I'm also a programmer, and I also have a heavy educational background. So I learn a lot through videos and also through books and all that. So I'm going to share some of those resources a little bit later in the video. But I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to talk about the two main methods that I use to learn lockpicking and how to work with my tools and all that. And that is with using cutaway locks and by using a method called progressive pinning. But first, let's talk about the cutaway locks. And I've used these a little bit in previous videos of mine. But cutaway locks are locks that have been modified so that you can see the internal mechanisms of the lock. And so you can get cutaway locks for like a simple Schlage SC1, SC4 keyway like the one here. You can also get them for padlocks. I've got one here for the American Lock 1100 series through Cobra Instruments. And you can get them in different styles too. Like here's a disc retaining or a disc lock that I've got from Cobra Instruments. And then also through Bare Bones, they had a really nice Euro cylinder practice lock that has the SC1 keyway. Actually, technically, yeah, it's an SC1. It's only, it's 6 pins, so it's an SC4. And it also has a dimple lock on it. And so one thing that I do want to, do is expand the type of locks that I can pick. And so I've got a dimple pick set from Sparrows, and so I'm going to start working on the dimple lock soon. I think the Abyss disc lock here is a brown belt level lock, and so when I hit brown belt level, this is a lock that I might consider going for with that. And I've got a non-cutaway version of this lock, but having the cutaway version, I can see where I am in the lock as I'm working with a pick. The picks for the disc retainer is very different. This is the Sparrows pick, and you see this a lot with other lock pickers out there. I haven't really used it yet, so having the cutaway lock so I know the depth and can get a feel for the lock is really kind of important and all that. At least to me it is. Now, there are a lot of lock pickers out there that will kind of, go against cutaway locks, and again, because you are removing material from the cylinder or from the lock itself, it does change the performance of the lock. In the way that the key and the pins bind and all that, but you still learn a lot in terms of location, in terms of height of the pin, in terms of like with the different security pins, the false set. It still gives you a good reference point to build off of with these. So those are kind of like when I'm really starting to learn a new lock. If I can find a cutaway lock of it, I'll try to get it. Now, again, these can be expensive. And the other thing with it to also note is because they're being modified, you do run into some problems. So I got this cutaway lock off of Etsy. And the one problem I have with it is I have to be careful with the key that I use with it. If I pick a key that, say, has a really high bidding on it, and I'm trying to find one here that's got high bidding, yeah, here. So if I try to, like, say, this key, here's one. So if I try to use this key here, I've got in pin number 2 here, it's probably a 0 pin. And so, or actually, I'm going to use this one here because, not correction, this has like a really low cut here. And so the problem with the low cuts is the key pins with that are really high. So if you look at pin number 5 here, that's a 9 pin. And so if I move that pin up any further, if that key has a low pin number or a mountain here, I can't get that by that pin because there's not enough room for the spring, the driver pin and the key pin when you do a cap on this because you're taking about an eighth of an inch away from the compression on that. And so you do have to be a little careful with the cutaway locks with that. But one thing that I do find that works really well are the Euro cylinder cutaway locks. You know, this is an SC4, so I can use the same key in here. But because you have a lot more room up above it in a Euro cylinder, you don't have to worry about that spacing so much with these. And so I do recommend the Euro cylinders. They do change a little bit in terms of the pins if you go to repin it. You can't really use the same pins that you would use in, say, like an American lock and all that, because these are, I think, 2.4 millimeters, and this is a 3 millimeter with key pins. So they do require a bit of a different pinning kit to do, but they're still worth it in my book. So the other way that I learn new locks or lock picking is using what's called progressive pinning. And there are a couple different kits that you can get with it. I use the Locksport trainer from Covert Instruments. It's this really nice 3D printed holder where it will hold up to 10 cylinders, particularly American Lock and Master Lock. You can fit some other padlocks in here, like I can take some of the pack lock ones I've got. I can't take the cylinders that are like, say, like the Abus or say like a kick here. You can get a hex expansion pack so that you can put like a kick pad cylinder lock in the middle here, but you know you are a little limited with the ones that are on the left and the right here. But I find this to be very useful. So the way that, oh, and the other thing that you can get is through Sparrows has a really nice progressive pinning set. And so I don't have number 3 here because I used number 3 for the challenge lock that I made my nephew and my brother-in-law. And that's what I really love about the Sparrow locks is that they are very versatile and you can modify them and they are a really good lock for the cost. So you get 4 locks, and by default, they all come with the SC4 keyway. But because each of these locks can support 6 pins. But out of box, what you get is you get a 2-pin, 3-pin, 4-pin, and 5-pin lock. So you would go through and you would progress your way up. And each one of them are keyed differently. Now, I do kind of wish that they keyed it the same, but at the same time, having it keyed differently, it does work nicely and all that. And what's really cool is once you get up through the 5 pins, what you can do is if you have a Schlage pinning kit, you can actually go and pin all like the number 2, number 3, and number 4 so that they're all 5 pins. but they're different keys, and so you can go through and learn the different bidding and work your way through 4 different Schlage SC1 keys and all of that. And then once you get done with it, what you can do is Sparrows has a recoring training kit that has 3 additional cores. So you get a Yale, so a Y1. It's also a Y2 because each of these locks do support up to 6 pins. You get an RW5, which I can't remember the brand for the WR5. I do apologize. I don't remember the brand for it. And you also get a quick set KW1, KW5. I don't have that one because I use that in the challenge lock and the cutaway lock I sent my nephew and my brother-in-law. But I'm probably going to buy another set of these with the recores because I'm going to probably make some challenge locks. I really enjoyed doing that for my brother-in-law and my nephew. And so I'm probably going to use these for future challenge locks that I make as well. So when you get a set like that, and in comparison, so this from Sparrows I think is $29 for the progressive set. Um, this is a bit more expensive. It's $20 for the holder, but then you have to get the cylinders in that. Covert Instruments used to sell this with 5 American Lock and then 5 Master Lock Pro cylinders, and it was about $100 for that. You can go to eBay and you can get just like 5 American Lock cylinders and 5 Master Lock Pro, or you can get 10 American Lock. You can mix this up in whatever way you want when you get the cylinders. So, for example, like if I pull this out here, these are all the different Master Lock cylinders that I've got. So I can take pretty much any one of these. I can say pop this guy out and put that in there, and so I can work with any combination of the Master Lock cylinders I've got here. And then same thing with the American Lock cylinders is I can take, or Pack Lock, I can take the Pack Lock cylinder out, or the American Lock cylinder out, and just put them in here and work with them. But what I do with this is I would do progressive pinning with this. So for example, I've got this Master Lock Pro 6271D here, and I'm having a hard time with this lock. It's a 6-pin lock that's got some good security pins in it, and it's a very narrow keyway. So I have to use a pick that I'm not used to. So I've got to use my monkey paw. This is the .015 width pick. And so I'm just not used to working in such a narrow keyway and with the 6 pins and security pins. And so what I've got on my trainer here is I've got 5 Master Lock Pro cylinders. So it's the same cylinder that's in this lock. And the way that I started learning how to get this guy open is I started with 2 pins, 3 pins, 4 pins, 5 pins, and 6 pins, and they would all be just standard driver pins. They wouldn't be any special security pin. And so I would go through and pick this and then get this and then get this, get this, and get this. And I would do that over and over and over again until I got a really good feel for the depth of the pins and the location of the pins and all that. And I would initially pin it with all the same key. So the same key would work on all 5 of these pins, or all 5 of these cylinders. And then what I would do is once I got comfortable getting up through the 6 pins, is I would then repin cylinders 1, 2, 3, and 4, and all of them would be 6 pins, but keyed differently with standard driver pins. And so once I got comfortable with picking the 6 pins with standard driver pins, I then moved on to the security pins. And so I kept it with the 6 pins in it. And I would do 2 security pins, 3 security pins, 4 security pins, 5, and then 6. And I would start with like serrated pins, and then I would move on to spool pins, and then I would mix them. So currently, right now, where I'm at with this lock is I've got two mixed security pins. So there's a serrated and spool in this lock. There are 3 security pins, serrated spools, just a mixer, and so on and so on. So 4, 5, and 6. I can get these 3 open pretty consistently, and I'm still working on the 5 security pins. Just when I add that 5th security pin, it just really changes the feel of the lock and all that and that. So I'm still having a hard time with it, as I get through these and get more comfortable with them, I'm starting to get this one open. I get it open maybe about 50% of the time that I attempt it now. And then when I get that open, I'll then start working on 6 pins, and that way I'll then get ready for this guy and getting this guy open and all that. And I'll use that approach on other locks I have. Now, there are locks I don't have multiple cores for. And so, for example, I've got this American Lock A3650 that I got a couple weeks ago. And this has a H1 keyway in it. So I had the key here. I'm not sure where the key went. But it's a Hager keyway. I haven't worked with it before. It's a new one, and I've been really enjoyed learning this lock. And so what I did is I'll disassemble it, I'll pull the core out, I'll just start with one pin. And what's different with this lock is the security pins that are in it. And so, for example, currently right now, I can get up through 6 pins with it. So, got 6 pins, and so I've got the seventh pin here. And you can see the security pin here is an anti-bump pin. And I'm just not used to that style of security pin. And so what I've learned with this is as I'm picking it, it's like a serrated pin. I have to get 2 clicks in, and when I get that second click, I'm getting the ability to identify when the pins are set. So I can get through 6 pins about maybe 75% of the time I attempt this lock now. When I get a little bit better, I'll add in that seventh pin, and then I'll work at getting it open. So I'm getting really close to being able to open this guy. So I'm actually really looking forward to making a video for this lock when I get done with it. But there are some locks that I can't disassemble. So for example, I have the Schlage Everest key cylinder here. And this is actually a really cool cylinder. I think it's a brown level lock in Lockpickers United, and it's a brown level lock. It's actually blue through brown. And that's because you have 2 different shear lines in here. Now, when I talk shear line, what that is when you look at the pin cylinders here, you'll see the line that separates the driver pin from the key pin. And so when you insert the key, you want to get that separation all in line, and that's what allows you to turn the key and open the lock. With this lock, though, you actually have 2 different keys. So you have the operational key here, which unlocks the lock. So I can go ahead and use this key to open the lock. And then you have the control key, which is this guy here, that you can only turn a portion of the way, but what that does is that removes the cylinder. And so with this lock, what I have to learn is how to get that the shear line to those 2 different ones. And the way that this works is you actually have 2 security pins to each of the key pins. And so they're different sizes, which allows you to use different keys. And it's called master keying. But the problem is I can't really disassemble this lock. This is a small format interchangeable core, or SFIC. And the way that you pin these is you actually put these in a special rig and then use a punch through the bottom here to punch out the top here and drop the key pins and the driver pins and all of that stuff. And I just don't have the tools to do that. I don't have the tools to reassemble that, because then you would just put it back and then you would cap the top here. You don't really want to disassemble this lock because you have the 2 different shear lines and all of that. And you can kind of see, the different lines here by looking at the back here. And so the way that I have to learn locks like this, and also it's like the same thing with the Schlage Primus. Now, I can disassemble this lock, but it's a different mechanism that I'm used to, because not only do you have the top key pins, but you also have this key in the pins along the bottom of the key here. And so you have a total of 11 pins I think you have to manipulate in this lock. Now, I can remove the core, I can unpin and repin this lock. It's a lock that I'm not used to though, so I really don't want to disassemble it because I haven't really worked with it. You know, I've got the Schlage Everest, which is similar to this, which I have disassembled, and I've got a video with that, so I know I can do it. But it's a lock that I just don't have extra parts for, so I really don't want to disassemble it unless if I absolutely have to. So the way that I will learn the locks that I can't disassemble, and it's the same thing for like solid brass locks here. So it's like I have this vintage Yale lock that I'm working on as well, and you just can't disassemble these solid brass locks because it's all one piece. Now you can, if you're really good, you know, drill out the key pins or the pins here and get it so that you can disassemble it, but I'm not that skilled yet with working with my drill press and that type of stuff. I'm hoping to be able to do that at some point in the future. But the way that I will learn locks like this will be by going to YouTube is my primary method. There are probably hundreds of lock pickers out there that have created YouTube channels that have wonderful videos on how to pick locks. And I wish I could remember all of them and all that. These are the main ones that I use. And there are still some that I couldn't remember and I couldn't get on my list here. So if I don't have you on my list, I really do apologize. But there are just so many great YouTube lockpicking YouTubers out there. I highly recommend just going to YouTube and like say, you know, was working with you know, the vintage Yale here, and so I can search for that Yale, do lock picking, and then the lock that you're working with, and you'll find, you know, dozens of videos out there on those different locks. You know, it's the same thing like the Schlage Primus or the Everest here. There's just so many different YouTubers out there. And you know, I definitely started with the lockpicking lawyer. He has a lot of great videos. I think a lot of people went to, you know, started with him. He's one of the best lockpickers out there, I feel, and he's definitely a great starting point. But you know, it's like I like Sandman. He has a lot of good videos. You know, had the conversations with him in the comments section. He's just a great guy. You've got, you know, Lady Locks, Lock Noob, Lock Junkie. You've got Parky. You got the Lock Breaking Kid, the Sadistic Picker. Just all these people on this list here are really great. Have really great content in it. You know, Parky is absolutely wonderful. I have a ton of respect. Actually, I'm updated the logo on my channel, the logo that he created for me and all that. So again, thank you very much, Parky, for that label. I'm actually trying to get poker chips made that have that logo on it as well that I can send people. So I'm really excited about that. So I do want to do a special call out to Parky on that. But you know, I highly recommend all the people that are on this list here, and there's so many other people that just didn't make the list, and again, if I don't have you on my list here, I do apologize. I think everybody out there that creates content with lockpicking is great, and definitely watching how people are picking open a lock, even if they don't explain in detail like what they're doing, just that visual of them getting the lock open, you can tell a lot just by that. And then another thing that I'll use are textbooks. And I know they're boring, but you know, again, I have, you know, by going through, you know, university with a couple of different degrees, you know, in heavy sciences, you get used to reading textbooks. And there are a couple of books I recommend. You know, you got the Practical Lockpicking by Deviant Olam. He's got a lot of good content in his books here, a lot of good visual representation. So, like when I was talking about the shear line, here's what I was talking about when you get to put the key in. All your key pins are raised so that the driver pins are all equal. And when you get all those to the shear line, you can open the lock. But he also has a lot of good, you know, different techniques in the book that you can go through. He does talk about different types of locks, and so, like here's pin tumblers, or tubular locks and all that. But really like about his book is that he covers different profiles of the picks and of lock picks and all that. And so this is a book that I do recommend. It is a really good book. Another book that I use is this Locksport book that just came out from No Stress Press, who's the publisher. I'm a programmer and I use a lot of their programming books and all of that, and they're a great publisher. So this is another book that I recommend. And they talk a lot about the different style locks, and it's very similar to Deviant's books. They got a lot of good pictures in here, a lot of good explanations. The here's like when I talk about a false set, here's a good representation of what a false set is with a spool pin. Um, but they also talk about different methods. So, they've got impressioning, how you can create a key for a lock just through impressioning. So, the different methods for impressioning. They talk about safe lock manipulation. They've got lever lock picking and all of that. So, it's a great book. Another book that I've got coming is a two-volume piece uh, that is for the international police that go through all the different locking mechanisms, brands, and all of that. It's quite a pricey set, but I've heard a lot of people speak good about it. So I did get a set. I'm getting that this coming Friday, so I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on that. So those are the kind of different ways that I've learned lock picking. So I hope people find that useful. I find especially the I just completely lost the word. The progressive pinning to be very useful even when I'm learning like new tools. And so it's like I've got these new picks from the wall lock tools, and I love them. They are very comfortable in the hand, but they are very different from all the other lock picks I got. I started with Covert Instruments, and so this is the medium hook from the Genesis set. And you can just see the different profile, and it's amazing just how that different profile changes the way that the pick performs and all that. I also have, the Covert Instruments, Covert Companion, and also I just got the multi-pick jackknife. And so I'll use progressive pinning to learn these new tools and to get used to them so that I can, kind of give my opinion on them. It's like I love the wall lock tools. They are very comfortable. I'm actually getting very used to them. You'll see me using these more in the videos, and I actually have another set that I just ordered for raking and all of that. And then I've been trying to get used to this multi-pick jackknife. And I'll do a review of this in a little bit. I want to use it a little bit more in order to give it a fair chance. So, so I hope everybody found this video useful. Do feel free to, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I try to reply to all the comments, and I read all the comments and all that. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I will see you all later.